People have set for this new year certain resolutions where they say, I will behave or achieve certain things in 2025. That process alone requires a level of commitment and dedication that takes something in order to make something. And so here's this thing that we've committed through fasting and prayer. We have committed through resolutions, but we have also committed in this 21 Days to Life program. And in that 21 Days to Life, what we're doing is we are really getting to know who we are internally, the things that make us tick, the desires that we have, what is most important to us. And then as we do that, we're trying to look at those external factors that sometimes keep us from going to the places and the heights that we were meant to go to. So as we start this morning, I was thinking about this whole idea about wholeness and completeness. And what I was thinking is, I want you, if you can, in the comments, to put a wish that you have for yourself, and others. It might be as simple as, I just wish that you have wholeness today and the rest of the year. Or I wish that today you touch someone's life in a way that brings them joy. Whatever it is, what you wish for yourself and others, if you would put that comment in the chat, whether it's now or you think of it closer to the end of our time together, it doesn't matter. But you will constantly hear me say that this idea of speaking life into others and yourself is so very important. Oftentimes we say what we can't do, what we won't do, what's not going to happen for us. We are going to change our words, and we're going to change what we put into the atmosphere in 2025. We will do that together. So remember, when we say speak life, we are talking about living. That's an action word. You can't just sit on the sidelines and do nothing. We are talking about being intentional. That's purposeful and choosing something. We have so many choices that we just give up sometimes, and we're going to take our choices back. And we always say in Whole Heart, we're going to take our power back. Fearless is not the absence of fear, but the courage to move forward anyway. And then the last E, the E in life means expectant, that we are going to expect the good. So I'm telling y'all, speak life into yourselves and others. And if you get a chance this morning, I want you to absolutely do that and put it in the comments. All right. The question that I asked you yesterday, I hope you took a lot of time and effort. For some of you, it might have come really, really quickly. But I wanted you to really think about this question. And it was, what is it that you want desperately for yourself? And what is it that you wanted desperately for yourself in 2025? And so I want to share my screen real quickly, because I want to take you to the actual question. And I also want to show you that when we go through this process, I am going through it with you. And so I want to state the question correctly. And remember, for me, I'm putting it in I terms. I'll ask you, but I'm putting it and personalizing it. So the question was, what's one thing I desperately want to be in 2025? What's one thing I desperately want to be in 2025? So as we were together yesterday, my words came up. I said, my initial thought was, I want to be confident. I said I wanted to be less fearful. And then I thought, no, I don't want to put that in a negative context. So I made it more courageous. But I really sat with that question. What's one thing I desperately want to be in 2025? And throughout the day, different words came to me. I said I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be productive. I wanted to be happy. And what my process is each time I would think on the word, and I was actually moved to actually look up the meaning of the word. I'm a dictionary person, and I love to see what words really mean. And as I began to look up each of those words, what I realized is, whoa, I am talking more about the outcome and not the process. So for me, when I talked about what I desperately want to be in 2025, it was about me being something. And the word abundant came to me. And of course, I looked it up in the dictionary. I got the dictionary version. And then I decided to put it in my words instead of just the dictionary. So I wrote what I desperately want to be in 2025 is abundant. And I wrote down that that means to me having more than enough of the good stuff, having more than enough of the good stuff. So the question is, what do I desperately want to be in 2025? My answer was abundant, and I defined it for myself. Now, the question I'm going to ask you is, what is your word that, or your answer to that question? When I asked you, what is it that you desperately want to be in 2025? What was your answer? And if you're willing to share it in the comments, I would love to hear it. If you don't want to share it, that's okay too. If I'm able to call it out, I'll do that. But sometimes, I'm also trying to get some information to you and make sure that I get it to you this morning. So here's this idea of what we want to be. I got a chance to listen to this really great speaker at the end of last year. And he said that what we are is a society that's constantly doing instead of being. And that hit me in a certain way that if I thought about my 2024, I was constantly in motion. I was constantly meeting expectations of other people. I was constantly churning out things, and I was doing. But there's a power in being. Who do I exude? What is it that I exude? What is it that if people look at me, that they see more than just what's on the surface? And that's the reason I chose the word abundant for me, because I realized that in 2024, I was living with my cup almost empty. I love tea. I drink it every morning. I probably need to not do that because the amount of sugar I put in it is unhealthy. But this whole idea about sugar and how much I intake is secondary to this visual of here's my cup. And when I look at my cup, I got these little dregs of tea and just a little bit of tea in the cup. And I don't have enough so that my cup overflows in good ways. And so this activity, this question brought me back to what I really, really desire in my soul. And that is to live a life of abundance. And so I am asking you to do the same thing, to answer that question and tell me what's the one thing you desperately want to be in 2025. And this, as we complete this 7-day period, this is absolutely crucial because it has something to do with what our very last question is. And it's the question for today. Good morning, Pastor Hardy. It's good to see you here. And I love the person who just said, I think it was Linda, that she wants to be a blessing to others. And I absolutely resonate with that. So that idea of being is so very important. And I hope that you've really answered that question. Cynthia says she wants to be a loving friend and a relative to myself that I am to others. I want to be for other people what I want to be to myself, what I am to other people. And isn't it funny that we often treat others so much better than we treat ourselves? So that's the question for yesterday is, what do I desperately want to be in 2025? And my answer to that led to the question that I have for you today. And so what I want to do is first introduce that question to you. Actually, let me introduce first. I'm going to share my screen. I'm excited. When I'm excited, I get ahead of myself. Okay, Denise, slow down. This is helping me, but I also want it to be able to help you. So here's what I did. I am a researcher, and I was like, okay, abundance. If I want to live in abundance, what does that mean? So what did I do? I went to Google and I said, exactly what you see at the top of the screen. What does it mean to live in abundance? Because I said, what do I want to be in 2025? I want to be somebody who's abundant. And I asked Google, what does that mean? Now, I'm not good at the AI stuff, but I love that AI can immediately give you an answer. And can I tell y'all folks, this is exactly what AI said to me. It said to live in abundance is to have a life full of Okay, the first one is a life of fullness. And then it says a life of rest, a life of appreciation, a life of strength, a life of confidence, a life of security, and a life of oneness of God. Now, here's the thing. I believe in confirmation. Oh, I believe in confirmation that if I say it and you give me something that confirms that this is for me, I'm excited. And so we're talking about 21 days to life, L-I-F-E. So isn't it funny that AI gives me back a life of, a life of, a life of? This is confirming that this is the word for me. So it actually laid out for me what abundance is. That I want to just read two of them to you. But a life of fullness, living in abundance can mean a life that is full of joy, peace, love, and other good things that are not dependent on material possessions. It can also mean living in a way that is more than just existing or trying to make a living. Oh my gosh, that made my soul smile, my heart smile. And the other one that it said is a life of rest. And it says living in abundance can mean a life of rest and grace rather than a life of striving. It can mean a life that is not dependent on rigid adherence to rules or constant striving to earn favor. So I'm telling you this because that process of saying, this is what I want to be, and let me define it, just opened up a window for me as in terms of 2025. And it led me, yes, to the question for today. And so I want to put that in front of you right now. The question for today is, what do I want for myself, period, in 2025? What do I want for myself in 2025? And I'm saying that because when I answer that question today, what I'm immediately going to do is to go to that list that says this is what abundance means, because I want to be clear about the goals that I have for myself in 2025. I know I set these resolutions and I said, this is what I'm going to do, but we have taken you through these 6 days of questions that are peeling back the layers. And I want you to go back to day one. What was your word? I want you to go back to day two. What am I running from and what am I running towards? I want you to go back to all of those questions and ingest them. Look at your answer, consider them, and use them in this process to say, what is it that I want for me, period, in 2025? For me, I'm going to go back to that list also of abundance. I'm probably going to pick, I can't take all 7 of them because that would be characteristic of who I used to be. Who I used to be is Denise picking 50 things that she's going to accomplish today, and oftentimes getting none of them done because I was overwhelmed because that list of 50 was too much. And so what I've learned is, let me just be good at a couple things. Old Denise was trying to do everything for everybody's business and for hers, and I often fell short. And me falling short added to this sense of not having self-esteem from little girl Denise. And so I want to make sure that we are letting go of some old things and moving forward to some new behaviors that help us to live in a different way, live in a way that is more powerful. So I'm saying that to you because I want you to go back and look at all those 6 answers that you've had. Just look at them, take them in. And then once you take them in, I want you to answer this question: what is it that I want for me in 2025? You may put it in the form of a couple goals. You may put it in the form of just what's in your heart. Now, Candace says to be authentic with myself and others. It coincides with something that I struggle with, which is allowing myself to be vulnerable. What I love about her answer is she's saying that I'm considering what I want to be, but it's also helping me to overcome what I didn't want to be. And that's what I believe a really good and powerful goal is for ourselves. One that not only allows us to strive to something new, but it overcomes the old. Because if we didn't have to worry about the old, then we would achieve every single resolution that we set. But we don't, because we're sometimes battling against those things. Oh, Kim wants to be a life insurance agent. I love it. I love it. And she wants to help other people in terms of opening doors for that. Can I say that the other power of us being together as a group is that perhaps there's someone in this group that can also help that dream come true for Kim. The power of being together as this collective. Because if I look at old me says, Denise, you got to do it by yourself. Don't ask anybody for help. But the new me says, let's find the ways that we can help each other, because it's not weak to ask for help. In fact, that's a sign of strength. So I say that because there may be somebody in this group who already is a life insurance agent, who knows a life insurance agent and can connect Kim. What I would say to you, Kim, is I used to be a life insurance agent, and I think it's one of the most honorable things that we can do for folks. All right. That being said, are we clear on what the question is for today? What is it that I want for me in 2025? And if you have an initial answer, keep on putting them in the chat, because we want to process them. But I also want to talk about one more thing with you today. And that is this idea that we have now made it through 7 days. We have now made it through 7 days of working together, but also 7 days of 2025. On that very first day, I asked you the question about how are you feeling when you look over the edge and you look into this year called 2025? How hopeful, how excited, how good are you feeling? And I'm going to ask you that question one more time. And so today in the comments, would you put from a scale of 1 to 10, like when I look at 2025, I feel so good. I'm at a 10 because I have so much hope for what this year is going to bring for me and my people in my life. Or you may say, I'm kind of halfway on the fence. That maybe is a 5. Or number 1 is, I don't know. I just don't know where I'm going. But would you say what your number is, but also the why behind your number? So I'm feeling at a 10 because my year is really falling into place, or I'm at a 1 because I'm still struggling a little bit with answering questions or old things that hold me back. But I would love, love, love for you to share that now, because this dialogue that we have with each other, this ability to state, this is where I am, and I'm understanding where I am. And once you understand where you are, then we build from that. We said earlier in this process that we are not looking for perfection. Perfection is I'm always at a 10. But what we do is we look for progress, because even if I'm in a 2, I have the opportunity to go to a 3 and then a 4 and then a 5. So I would love to see if you have any assessments of where you are right now and why. Would you share that in the chat? And as you're doing so, this is what I'm going to ask you to continue to do in this process, that I've given you the question for today. What is it that I want? So now that you have the question for the day, the process is the same. Oh, good question, Rosalind. She's saying, what is it I want from me or for me in 2025? And I'm going to say that the way I worded it is, what do I want for me? But as I'm answering the question of what I want for me, it may include what I want from me, because a lot of times we're not always giving to ourselves. And so that's a really, really good question. So with the question, I want to remind us of the process. The process is always that I want you to consider the question in your worksheet. I want you to write down your initial answer to that question. What comes to your mind first? I think there's an importance of that. Throughout the day, I want you to process that question. That processing may be reflecting on it, thinking on it, praying on it. And it may also look like my process, where I went online and I Googled it and I said, ask Google, what's the answer to your question? Or when you find a little bit of insight, put some of it in Google and see what comes up. So get some additional answers and insight. But there's also a power to asking other people. And I don't know the way that you would word that question. It could be something as simple as, hey, I'm going through this process and it says, what do I want from me in 2025? And what would you think I would say to that? You may ask that question. So I want you to think about that, because getting that input and hearing from other people is so very important. So number 1, I want you to do that. And then at the end of the day, I want you to come back and answer the question fully so that we can discuss it tomorrow. So that's your goal for today. But I always got more for y'all. I also want to give you a secondary goal. And that secondary goal is this: there are people in your life who need this. They need to go through this process. They may not want to commit to 21 days, which is absolutely okay. But I also think that there are ways that you can pull them into pieces of this process, whether they agree to complete it or not. I think you can ask someone who's close to you, what do you want for yourself in 2025? And here's the thing: when you ask the question, be willing to just listen, not to edit it, not to give them what they should want or any of that, but to listen, and listen with a sense of curiosity. Allow that person to answer and say, well, where does that come from? Or just be curious, or, what have you wanted in previous years? And, you may curiously ask, and is there a way that you're going to get that? This is what I'm saying. Okay. All right, I want to come back to that for a second. This is what I'm saying is that in involving other people, what you begin to do in the very beginning, I think it was Karen who said, I want to cut myself off from toxic people. What you're doing is sometimes people are toxic because they don't have this kind of input and training. And so what you're doing is helping them kind of change from where they are to where they could be, more of a positive influence in your life. So as you ask them questions, where do you want to be? And just listen and ask questions. There's a change that you can create for them that could be life-changing. So I want you to pour into the people. Now, don't do it with 20 people. Pick one or two, maybe just one, but pour into the people and get to know them a little bit better. I think it can be powerful. I want to go back to the comment that Celeste made, and that's where she said she decided that she's at a 7 when she looks into 2025 because there are unexpected obstacles popping up, but she feels like she will finish at a 10. That's what I'm talking about. That's the progress that I'm saying, that we honestly assess where we are and we make that okay. Some people will say, I'm a 7, I should be something different. No, I'm a 7. Let me celebrate the 7. But let me also have hope that if I keep getting better every single day, if I keep progressing towards my goal, that I may become a 10. One of the things I want to tell you, Melissa says 8.5. I love it because she's not sure what's going to come for our country. And that's the piece, Melissa, or Lisa. I know her name is Lisa. That's the piece that we're going to now say, this is what we have control over. We know we can't control what's going on in the country overall, but we're going to take that and we're going to make improvements in us so that our perspective changes and that becomes smaller and what we can do becomes larger. So I absolutely love this. I love this kind of progress and this kind of working together, because I'm telling you folks, as we do this together, it will change everything, not just for us, but all of those people that we influence. We always say in the whole heart world, who takes care of the person who takes care of everyone else? I am so convinced that the people who are always drawn to our programs are the people who take care of everyone else. And in these 21 days, we're taking care of you and we're setting something new for you. All right. That being said, I'm going to go to one last comment. Lisa said, I had high hopes for the year, but then my best friend and prayer partner died. Oh, my condolences to you. So going into 2025 feels less exciting, but I'm working on getting back to a 10. And what that says to me, Lisa, is you have hope. And when you have hope, you can do anything. And so I want to acknowledge that in this period, in this season, it may also be that you're going through a lot of pain and a lot of difficulty. But I know from personal experience in my own losses and in helping other people that if you give it time and work, it takes both of them together, we can get to a better place and get better and better and better. All right, folks, I thank you for your commitment today. I remind you, what is it that I want for myself in 2025? Think about that question, come up with your answer, and join us tomorrow. Tomorrow starts week 2, and we're going to move from who am I really to what are the things that hold you back. And this part is really important. All right. I thank you. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and you have a phenomenal day on purpose. See you, everyone.